All right. Do we have any warriors in the house? Anyone a warrior? Would you raise your hand? Honestly, be honest. You worry? Anyone be honest and say, I worry a ton, like Trent, like too much? Would you hold it up for a second? Be proud of who you are? Okay. Like it's just 7 of you. That's it. Online, give us a thumbs up if you worry. How about this? How many of you would say, Trent, I don't worry about anything? Like it can be the worst news ever. I don't worry anyway. Okay. Just one person. Nobody? So most of you, okay, one person, second person. So that's really it. So how many of you would just be honest last time, and I'll quit bothering you, would just say, I may struggle with worry sometimes. Anybody? Okay, good. Well, here's the thing. I want to give you kind of some good and bad news real quick as we get started. A cool thing about what we fear or what we worry about, and we talked about this in our small group Wednesday, is fear or worry does reveal to us what we value most. So for you moms in here, if you're like, I worry about my kids all the time, that's good. It means you love your kids. Worry about my husband, it means you love him. Worry about my family, you love them. Good. Worry about my job, you love it. Good. That's positive. The negative is, though, whatever you fear or worry about also reveals typically where you trust God the least. That's kind of the zinger, right? That's kind of the part where we're like, okay, the reason I worry, and this is a good way for you to reframe this as we finish up the book of Philippians today. All of you in here is thinking through, okay, if I'm honest, the reason I worry about that, and here's how you have to reword it, I'm not trusting God in that situation. That's why you're truly worried. And you're like, no, you don't understand. It's a really bad situation. It's not going as planned. Okay, it's not going as according to your plan, but not really to God. So here's the thing for me, and my wife's here, and she can verify this. I grew up not worrying. Not a worrier, never been. I don't think about it, doesn't register to me. Really not. I'm not a worrier at all. Matter of fact, a couple years back, we were meeting in elementary school in South Point, and the fire marshal was coming in on a Friday to shut us down because we didn't have certain things there. And basically a guy talked to me, he said, you realize a couple hundred people, we're going to figure out what to do with them and where to go in about 24 hours. Friday night, I promise you guys, I slept like a baby. I literally did not lose an ounce of sleep. Maybe because I don't care about this church. I don't know. It's just literally, I slept. I was like, it is what it is. We can't do anything about it. Fine. But my wife will tell you, the last year and a half or so, I've started to worry. Started worrying, one, my daughter's watching this online. My daughter started driving. And as she's watching this online, I'll just call it out. She's the worst driver I've ever seen in my life, okay? So I worry about that. She's terrible. And I also worry because my kids started dating. Right? So now they're dating for the last 2 years or so, but not dating like little kids. We're saying, oh, that's cute together. Like, stuff starts to get serious, or it's going to get serious at some point. I watch now they're making decisions for life, and they're moving on. Just this last week, 2 days ago, we were at an awards assembly at Ironton. They had all the seniors leave, and they said, all juniors stand up. My wife and I were there, and they said, now you step over in the auditorium. You are the new seniors. And both of my kids, my son and daughter, were in that group. And you're just like, wow. We've got literally a year left, and they could go into college. They could be out of our house. Like, wow. So I start worrying about this stuff. Why? Because I actually care about it. But here's what I want you to hear before we get to Philippians 4. This is important. Also, for worry is all about your perspective. Like I said, am I trusting God? Am I freaking out about this situation? Worry is all about perspective. And I'll give you a real quick example before we get into Philippians 4:4. And this is so important. My wife grew up in the Brady Bunch. She did. She has an amazing family. I think the world of them. I remember when we were dating, I went there. It's all girls, no boys, just their dad. He's a dairy farmer. Before they would eat, they would pray. They talked about God. They talked about church all the time. It was just like a wonderful family. It really was. But a very, just almost you would think, oh, that's a perfect family. It's great, right? My family is completely different than that. All boys, knuckleheads, morons. My mom and dad are just we're just trying to survive every day. Literally, she's just trying to get us out of the house unmaimed. But here's what kind of is interesting to me. Our kids, as they got older, would get into fights. My son and my daughter. They'd have a huge argument, and they'd be mad at each other. We would go to bed that night, and this is true. I look at my wife, and I can just tell she's like ruined. I'm like, are you okay? I just wish they wouldn't fight. I just wish they wouldn't fight. And she's tore up about it. And she's like, I don't think I fought with my sisters like that. And it hit me. I grew up, and this is really a true story. My older brother, who's literally a criminal, he shot me in the back with a compound bow once. And he was aiming for my heart, but it hit me in the shoulder. He shot me with a rifle in the butt once at my neighbor's house, and he stabbed me twice. And one time he misstabbed me. I was on the phone and I wouldn't get off the phone. And he came in and he was trying to stab me. This is so sick and twisted, in the eyeball. And I moved and he missed. I was like, girl, I got to get off, okay? You're not that good of a girlfriend. I'm out of here. You take the phone. You about blinded me, right? All true. And I think for me, when she's almost in tears, like they just don't get along, I'm like, they're doing great. They are so good. Like they argued. My daughter didn't punch my son. They didn't shove. They didn't become immature and take it to violence. I'm proud of my kids, right? I am, and I mean that. It's all about perspective. What to her is the end of the world. And she's devastated because they just don't get along. I'm like, compared to my brothers, you kids are doing great. You're better kids than we are. You're doing better. I'm proud. Dad's proud of you, right? It's like that. And the reason I say it is because the situation didn't change. It's just a perspective. One perspective is different than the other. That's what we're going to see from Paul today. Here's what Paul says, starting in verse 4. He says, rejoice in the Lord always. Matter of fact, in case you didn't get it, he's writing this letter, and just to give you guys the background, in case you're here for the first time, the book of Philippians, Paul is literally under house arrest. He's probably chained to it, possibly to a guard. He's awaiting for them to see if they're actually going to take his life or what they're going to do with him. Probably has been beaten many times. Not a great situation. And his first words is, rejoice in the Lord always. He said, in case you missed it, I'm going to say it again. Rejoice. Let your gentleness be evident to all. Why? The Lord is near. Now, I want you to understand something. Because I think in Christianese and churches, we screw this up. What we do when someone's struggling, like, well, just trust the Lord. Lord's good, isn't he? I know, but I just found out, like a loved one has like stage 4 cancer, but he's good. What are you talking about? Paul's not doing this. He's not like, hey, just rejoice. I know they just beat me, but man, no. Paul says, I don't rejoice in what's happening to me because that's sick and twisted. I rejoice in the Lord always because he's near. And we're about to see here in a second why that actually matters, but it's important for you. So as you find out your spouse is leaving you, I'm not coming to you and say, why aren't you happy? Well, of course you're not happy. I just found my kid just got injured and now he's going to the hospital. Why aren't you happy? You shouldn't be happy. That's not normal. What he's saying, though, is even in my lowest points, though, I can rejoice in the Lord. I can not freak out about my situation. Some of you in here, you worry warts, you constantly are rolling these things through your mind and worst case scenarios, and oh my gosh, what if we do this? And then what if it gets worse? And oh my, and you just start falling apart. And what Paul's saying here is, no. You can even rejoice in the worst of your times in the Lord. Are you saying I should rejoice about what's going on with my kid? Absolutely not. Don't. You're heartbroken, but you can rejoice in the Lord. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? So I want to give you 2 things really quick, kind of help you that Paul's going to say in the next 8 verses about worry. And what Paul's trying to tell us is we don't have to freak out. We don't have to worry. We don't have to be unhinged all the time. We don't have to have just all this anxiety just constantly. Anxiety is going to happen. That's part of life. In a tense moment, you're wired that way when things are bad. But if you're constantly in a state of anxiousness, Paul's like, no, you don't have to live like that. You really don't. And he's going to give us some advice. So first, we don't have to worry about what will happen when we know who's in charge. Okay? This is the first key point that he's saying. He's saying, hey, we don't have to worry about the how when we have the who. As long as you know who the who is, you don't have to worry about the how. Now, my wife will tell you this, and it's probably the most emasculating, don't feel like a man thing that ever happens that she does. We'll be driving down 52, and sure enough, there's a van pulled over, the hood's up, and there's some poor lady in her 40s, and you can tell she's just looking at it, steam everywhere. And my wife always says the same thing to me. She's like, Trent, you going to pull over? And I always answer her the exact same question. I would love to, but why should I? And it's not because I don't care about this woman. It's because I know when I get over there, I'm going to stand beside her, kick the tire. And this is a bad one. I can tell. That engine is bad. Think you got a bad engine. It's like, yeah, but no, I think it might just, the radiator's just overheated. I don't know what you're talking about, right? I don't know what these words mean. So it's like the words like, I want to help you, but I don't know how. And I remember one time when we were first married, I had a Geo Tracker. You can make fun of me all the time if you want. I loved it, though. My wife even called it the Barbie Jeep. She's like, you're the only grown man in a black Barbie Jeep that has a hot pink tracker on the side. I was like, I rocked it out, too. I did not care. I love that car. But I remember it started having problems, so I start, looking online, finding way, YouTube, I'm going to figure out. No clue. you're pausing at times. They're like, now if you just take the manifold, I don't know what a manifold is. I'm just going through. And I remember a friend of mine, his dad said, you having problems with that? Bring it over, or he said, I'll run over, wasn't running, come over to the house. And I'll never forget, he was like, now one thing we're going to do, carburetor. He started talking all this stuff, I didn't know what it meant. But when he was there, I was like, dude, this is so helpful. Like, he literally helped me fix it, right? The who matters in weird and tough situations. Look what Paul says in verse 6. This is a tough one for you worrywarts, okay? You're going to feel like he's condemning you, and he's not. This is truly a message of encouragement today. It's not saying you're horrible, fix it. He's saying, I'm going to tell you why you're worried. Do not be anxious about anything. Some of you are like, that's impossible. I can just check off right now. You're watching online, you're like, I'm just turning off, because that's so made up. That's a different word. Paul said, no. Remember where I'm at. Don't love it. I'm in a bad situation, but he says, do not be anxious or uneasy about anything, but in everything, here's kind of the suggestion, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. And here's what he says. If you do this, then the peace of God, which is almost unexplainable, transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So what Paul's going to tell you, and here's a phrase I want you to hear. Paul's saying, if it's big enough to worry about, then it's big enough to pray about. Oh, Trent, I would never bother someone with, I don't even want to bother God with the small fry stuff in my life. No. If it's big enough for you to feel anxiety or uneasiness, then Paul's saying, just pray about it. So instead of sitting there and letting 30 minutes pass where you've just played worst case scenario over in your mind, Paul's like, no, you got to flip the script. You got to in your mind say, you know what, no. I'm going to actually take this first to God in prayer. It's the first step. Instead of just complaining or worrying about it, I'm going to actually pray about it in everything. Now, some of you here maybe don't believe in God, or maybe you're not a follower of Jesus. And I think it's awesome. You're watching online, and for whatever reason, I am so honored that you're listening to this. And I would actually say this to you, honestly, whatever, anything in prayer, big enough to worry about. But here's what I think you would say. I don't even know how to pray. I was talking to someone just 2 weeks ago, and they're like, Trent, you're always telling me like pray stuff. It's like, I wouldn't even know how to begin praying. And I've thought about that the last 2 weeks. And I was thinking, like I told you, I have 2 kids. They're both juniors in high school, a son and a daughter. And I got thinking, you know what? They come to their father with requests. And they come to me, if you would picture it kind of like prayer, they both come to me completely different. My daughter, who's about to turn 17, she comes to me with what I like to call door in the face technique. She'll come rolling in, and she's like, hey, Dad. And she always acts like it just happened. Hey, Dad, by the way, I need $700 for a bathing suit. I'm like, hey, Tegan, by the way, it's not happening. We don't even have cars that cost $700 in the Carpenter home, right? Like, no, you're not doing it. And she went, are you serious? I found one on Shein.com or whatever weird site she's on. She's like, I found a bathing suit. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. Never fails. She's like, do you think you could give me 70 for the other one I kind of like? And in my mind, I'm instantly like, well, 70 is way better than 700. Yeah, sure, there you go. Right, you give it to him. I'm like, oh, she tricked me again. And she smiles like, I tricked my dumb dad. It's over, and she moves on. But my son doesn't come to me with requests like that. He comes way different. She comes loud and hard, and then she'll be like, okay, I really just wanted this, and you'll give it to me. But my son, no, he comes like the old hand, he's like, hey, Dad, Tegan said that you maybe mentioned paying for our meals after prom, but I told her we have the money. He starts backing away. He's like, I told her we'll pay for it, Dad. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, but she did say, right? And he keeps that slow. I'm backing up, but hey, you're a good dad. Look, we're not trying to take advantage of you. Papa, Padre, we love you. But he's always real calm. And then finally like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Thank you. Like he's always so gentle. Like he just slowly creeps in. But my point with that is this. I know how both of them talk to me. I know how both of them ask for things. And I'm not like, wait, why didn't you come in hard, Taden? Why didn't you come in loud? No, because he's different. That's what Paul's saying here. He's like, I'm not saying you have to have some perfect prayer. But instead of sitting there and just freaking out about stuff and constantly saying over and over in your mind, bring it to me. Bring it to your Father. Your Father actually cares about those things. So I'm going to give you, as we kind of finish this passage out, I'm going to challenge you with a thought. I'm going to challenge you and myself. We actually need to think about what we think about. Now, I made that up literally this morning before I took my shower, and I thought it was so clever. I was so happy. I said it. I was watching your faces. None of you cared. I was like, man, that's creative, right? But this is what Paul's about to say. We're about to get this. We need to think about what we think about. Because some of you, your thought life is a mess. It really is. And your thoughts always at some point are going to come out in actions. If you show me someone, they're like, my kid is the worst kid. He's a knucklehead, a scallywag. He's always doing da-da-da-da-da. And I watch him like, he will, right? Like thoughts, that's how it kind of works. But I'm going to play a quick game with you. I'm going to put 2 questions on the screen, just 5 times. And I want all of you to answer. The first question, yes or no, and then the second question, no, because I want to challenge your thoughts. I want to challenge the way that you think about your life in general, okay? If you don't believe in God, you might answer no to all these. You might answer yes to some, whatever. But I want you to honestly be honest here, okay? So here's what I would say. Can you or myself heal, you just find out your granny, Meemaw, terrible, she's sick, you're going to hospice, horrible situation. Can you walk in, touch her, say a couple words, and she gets healed? Can any of you heal someone? No? Okay, some of you are thinking about it's weird. Okay, yeah. No, you can't. But honestly, can God heal somebody I love? Can he heal them? Now, is he guaranteed to? No. I'm not saying he will. Can he, though? Yes. Okay, don't think about your thoughts today. How about this one? Can I change my wife or spouse? Every guy's like, dude, I've been trying for years, trust me. I heard one lady, though, she's like, yes, still working on it, right? Women completely, you're all going, I think I can. 30 years, I'm still working on it. Right? No, you can't. I've learned this in life. I can't change my kids. I can't change people around me. I can't do any of that. But I've seen it millions of times. Can God change me and others? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's amazing what the gospel does in our lives. Real quick, how about this? Can I protect my kids 24/7? Some of you mama bears try. No, Trent, I let them off school and I'm peeking in the window watching their class. At recess, I'm wearing a fake costume, but you can't. No, I'm going to put them in the safest, best school. Okay, you still can't. You can't protect them. Can God? Absolutely. See what I'm saying? What I'm trying to get to is for all of us here, I think we're believing a lie. And according to the book of Romans, Romans says all sin starts with unbelief. Every sin that there is ultimately is about an area of God I'm not trusting. How about this one? Can I control my future? Real quick, can I? You guys can't even control gas prices. What are you going to do about the future, right? Can God control our future? I believe so. I personally, it gives me peace. And then the final one, this is what I'm trying to bring all full circle. And all of you, even if you don't believe in God, and even if you think all this is fairy tales and it's a crutch for us to get by life, okay, fair enough. But no matter what you believe today, I'll tell you this. I do know for a fact you can worry, you can sit and worry, you can get in a little room and just sit and make yourself sick for hours and days. But I know one thing about worry. Never changes anything. But can God change anything, any circumstance, any situation? I believe he can. So the reason I went through that for you, because I want you to actually change or at least think about the way that you think. Some of you here, you're like, I'm just so freaked out about my kids, this. If I were to ask you, okay, can you protect them? Can you fix that situation? No. Okay, well, think about that for a second. Why are you losing your mind over something you can't control? That's what Paul said. He said, no, bring it to God in prayer. Paul's going to tell us kind of what our thoughts need to kind of rotate on. So when you find yourself going through this anxious, worry moment, here's what Paul says in verse 8. Finally, brothers, sisters, talking to believers, whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. I didn't even say this first service. I got to thinking, what are the things in my life I know that is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable? You know the only thing I could think of that really matched all those? Jesus. Think about that for a second. So he's saying, hey, instead of thinking about this, all the situation, what's going on, I want you to think about this. Know what's true, noble, praiseworthy, excellent. Whatever you've learned or received or heard from me or seen me put into practice. This is such an amazing verse. Paul says, I want you to do that. I'm not asking you to be in jail with me, but I am asking you to put your trust in Christ the way that I do. Because listen, guys, this isn't a good situation. I wish I was out of jail right now. But I want you to learn that all of us can follow this example of trusting Christ. Put it into practice. But you don't do that. You just keep marinating on that same thought. I'll give you a quick example today. I want you to think about this. Okay? When everybody, I know guys won't do this, but I'm going to pretend like you will. Everybody just close their eyes for just a second, okay? Whatever you do, don't think about a purple flying goat. Okay? Listen to me. You think about it, don't think about the purple flying goat. It's cute. It's a little baby goat. Billy, I don't know what they're called, a kid, I guess. Purple flying goat. Don't think, anyways, you're like, Trent's the dumbest thing you've ever done in C3 history. You're welcome. But here's why I wanted you to see that today. Because all of you here, I guarantee you that's what you think about. You're doing that with the word. God, help me not to worry. God, help me not to freak out about my kids. God, help me. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Paul says you need to change your thoughts. True, noble, pure, lovely. Second one, real fast. So we know we don't have to worry about what will happen when we see who's in charge. And then the second one, we don't have to worry about what we have when we know who truly satisfies. Look what he says in verse 10. He says, I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you have renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you've been concerned, but you had no opportunity to show it. That's a little dig. He's saying, hey, how come you guys haven't reached out to me? I know you cared about me. You just hadn't had a chance to maybe send me a letter. Either way, appreciate you finally sending me a gift. He said, I'm not saying this because I am in need, for I have learned to be content whatever the circumstance. I have learned to be content. And here's what I'm going to tell you that I believe is true about you because it's true about all of humankind that I've ever met. Yes, I would love to have a nicer house. Yes, I wish my car didn't break down. Yes, I wish my kid was 100% healthy, and they're not. Yes, I wish my son wasn't born dead. You can go down the line of all these things, and there's nothing wrong with that. I wish I found a job that paid more. But Paul says something that all of us are longing for. He said, I've learned to be content. I've learned to have peace in whatever circumstance. I've learned to be able to look people in the eyes with honesty and not some fake plastic smile and say, I can rejoice. Not in this, but in the Lord. I've learned, as we're about to see, the secret. And I want you to hear this. If you don't focus on anything else, this is really, really important. Salvation. Every church, I would argue, in the Bible Belt, any true church, if you really push any pastor, we have a lot of disagreements on a lot of stuff. You can just, literally, all of us feel different. You guys feel different about stuff I do. But everybody, bottom line, agrees with this. Salvation is Jesus plus nothing. But I'm going to take it a step further. I truly believe that life, joy, peace is when I learn, like Paul's saying here, Jesus plus nothing. That's all I need. I can be satisfied in Him. That bothers me because that's not true of my life. I want Jesus plus about 8 things. I want both my kids to get a free education, full ride scholarship. I prefer them both to play sports and dominate in whatever they're doing because I love to win in everything. So I kind of want Jesus plus success plus my kids excelling, right? And if I'm honest when I'm talking to God, I'm like, that's what will satisfy me. And Paul's saying, no, that's not the secret though. That's not the secret. It's Jesus plus nothing. Last 2 verses. Look at verse 12. He says, I know what it is to be in need. I know what it is to have plenty. I've learned the secret. So you're about to hear it, okay? Here's the secret of being content in any and every situation. I've sat at the table where they just keep bringing out the food, and it's awesome. But I've also been laying on a cold, damp, concrete floor and starving because they haven't fed me in prison for 5 days. In both of these situations, he said, whether living in plenty or in want, here's my secret. I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength. Now, there's probably some guys in here that have this tattooed on your arm. This is the most popular graduation verse of all time. I'm going to bust your bubble just for real quick, okay? This is the worst graduation verse ever. Because here's what all graduations will say. Yeah, when I get out of college, I want to marry a really handsome guy, and he's going to be a doctor, and we'll probably have a yacht. Oh, yeah, in Jesus' name, right? Because I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But those of you who are older, you know this, and kids, hold your ears for a second, but you parents, you know this to be true. You know. It's like, I used to think I was smart. My parents told me I was smart until I went to school, and I'm like, my parents lied to me, right? I'm dumb. I'm not a smart guy at all. My people told me I was athletic in Little League because there was 12 teams our little tiny school was separated in 12 teams. But then I get junior high, we're combined. I'm like, why am I not starting on the basketball team? Someone lied to me because the coach told me the truth. He's like, because you're 4'2" and you're terrible, right? You're built like a toad. I mean, you're not it. It's like, someone told me the truth. I'm like, I don't like, no. I can do all things in Christ who gives me strength. I can play in the NBA. And Jesus is like, don't put that on me, bro. Okay? You can do a lot of things, but here's the point of that verse. He's not saying that. He's not saying pick and do whatever American dream you want, stamp Jesus on it, and it's going to work. What he's saying is more important. He's saying in your highest moment or in your lowest moment, you're going to be just fine. You can do whatever God needs you to do. Why? Because Jesus is with you, and through him, I can do anything. As we close today, I want to give you just kind of two thoughts to wrap this up, and I think it's really important. I've been doing this church gig as a pastor for over 20 years. I've talked to a lot of people, and when someone comes in and is very honest with me, and they're disappointed in life, disappointed in another person, or disappointed in God, there's only two major strands of people, two groups, never fails. First one's heartbreaking. They're what I like to call the broken dreams. So that's the girl who comes in and she says, I didn't think in my 40s I was going to be on my third husband, and we're getting ready to split up. I didn't think I was going to be raising these kids by myself. That wasn't my dream. I didn't think I was still going to be single at 45. That wasn't my dream. And it's sad and your heart breaks because you're like, you knew there's something they really wanted and they didn't get. But what it ultimately comes down to, I didn't think I would still be working. I thought this job was a starter job 10 years ago. But I'm stuck there. I'm still working for minimum wage. I hate it. But here's what happens. You talk to them and you push, and they're like, if I'm honest, I'm upset or disappointed in my life, in God, or in somebody else. But here's what I've learned over time that I didn't know before because I didn't grow up with a ton of money. I've met a lot of other people too that I would call the dream achievers. And when you look at them, they're like, my wife and I have the best jobs ever. We've got 3 cars. We've got 2.2 kids. We've got a dog. We've got a cat. If you go in our backyard, it's bigger than the whole street you live on, Trent. But then you start talking to them and they're like, but I'm not happy. We're not happy. We're miserable. And when they ultimately push to it, here's what they're saying. Even though we got everything we thought we wanted, I'm still unhappy with people, my life, and probably, if I'm honest, God. And the reason I tell you that is because Paul says, here's the secret to it. I've been there. I was the most religious guy you would ever know. People looked up to me. I would look at servants and say, hey, go bring me this. They did whatever I wanted. I ate whatever I wanted. I was the man. I've been there. And I've also laid on this cold floor with dirt, and it stinks, and they're not even giving me a bathroom, and I don't know tomorrow if they're going to come in and beat me more or maybe take my life. And he says, but I've learned a secret. And the highest and the lowest, in Christ, I'm good. I'm good. Now, if we're honest, you're like me. Most of us don't really believe that he truly satisfies. And you'll continue to chase, and some of you won't get your dreams, and they'll be broken, and you'll be mad at God. And some of you, sadly, will get your dreams, and you'll still be broken and mad at God because you'll never learn the secret. Through Christ, it all happens. As we close today, I'm picking on my daughter today, and I'm going to pick on her one more time, okay? My daughter, and we're going to pray, I promise, but I thought of this. It's so profound to me. My daughter is something that's so weird to me, maybe because I had all brothers. I never had a sister. Never was around girls really until I started dating girls, and even then I didn't get kind of how they operate. I'm still confused by them. But my daughter is scared to death, and this part is kind of sad. It really is. She's scared to death of like being by herself at night. We were even driving the other day, and I said, you know, when you're in college, she's talking about going with her cousin maybe to the same school. I said, where you have your cousin with you at night, you guys could take a walk. She's not at night. No, I'll get raped. And she thinks that all the time, which is really kind of sad as a dad. You're like, why is that always? It's always in her head. Like someone's going to take me, someone's going to abduct me. She's scared to death. But here's what annoys me. When she pulls in at night, well, she lost her license now. She's a terrible driver. But when she could drive, she would pull in at night, and as soon as she pulled in, she would literally sit in her car, or she would text me before she left somewhere and say, I'll be home in 12 minutes, Dad, and it would be like all caps, be outside. I literally would be in my underwear watching Netflix, and I'm miserable because I have to put on clothes, go outside, stand on the porch, and she will not even move out of that car until she sees me. But this is the worst part. It's not like I can stand on the porch and watch her. She wants me to come to her car. I'm like, are you 6 years old? Oh. But I walk out there. She gets all of her stuff, locks her car, heads in. She's happy. Well, because I'm a terrible father, a few months back, I was watching TV, didn't have my phone with me. She's texting, she's blowing up my phone. She pulls in. I don't go out. I didn't get the message. And all I hear is our door come slinging open. Where were you? What were you doing? Right? Like she's losing it. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get my message, whatever. But she's like, I didn't even get my book back. My car door's still open. I just had to run in here. She's panning. Like, huh. And here's why I tell you that as we pray. I thought of that. I thought my daughter's a good example for all of us. Where she's like, you know what? And here's the thing. If you're watching online, you're one of our neighbors. I'm not going to lie. We have some creepy neighbors. We have an old guy that stares all the time. He makes me uncomfortable. I'm in my car like, is he undressing me with his eyes right now? Like, dude, I'm taken. Like, it's weird. We have some creepers. You're listening online? Quit being a creeper. Okay, I'll say it. But here's what I noticed. When I was with her, you know what she was? Even though it was dark, still the same. No, situation hasn't changed. But here she is. She's whistling. She's grabbing her phone. Oh, give me another second. I forgot my money. Oh, let me get my book bag. And she literally walks as slow as you could possibly walk into our house. When I wasn't there, she knew, I don't like this. And she lost her mind, and she was flying. She forgot stuff. Paul's saying, here's the secret. I've had it good. I've had it really bad. But in both times when I've learned that Christ is with me, I'm good. I'm good. I'm completely good. Also, Paul, you're saying you rejoice that you're in prison? No, I didn't say that. I said I rejoice that Christ is with me. That's all I need. Do I want this other stuff? Am I going to pursue this other stuff? Absolutely. I'd say the same thing. You guys do it. Trent, I still like to get married. I'm still going to be trying to pursue the date. Do it. But he said, I've still learned in the meantime, Christ is enough. And when he's enough, when I finally get the secret that he's all I need, life changes forever. You know what you got to do in those dark moments? You got to get out of your car and you're whistling and you're swinging your keychain. What's up, Dad? Hey, you're not wearing a shirt. Neighbors are freaked out, whatever. But you're enjoying the moment. Why? Because he's with you. He's with you. This morning, we're going to pray. If you would just join me for a second. Just close your eyes. Nobody looking around. I'm asking you to be really honest. There's some people here and you have been consumed with anxiety and worry. There's a situation, and I'm not belittling your situation. It's bad. If you get on stage right now and share your situation, all of us, our hearts would break and we'd be like, oh, we wish that didn't happen to you. And I'm not telling you today to rejoice in that. You shouldn't. That's sick. But I'm going to ask you today, if that's you, I'd like to do something really, really important today. Right where you're at, if you're saying, you know, Trey, I'm losing sleep. I've got a situation I can't control. I'm freaking out. It's not going as planned. I had this plan, Trent. It's not working. It's not coming through. Whatever that situation is, just if you would for just a moment, if you just like to lift your hand, I just want to pray for you. That's it. Just like lift. Thank you. Thank you. Multiple. Thank you. Anybody else? Just real quick. Raise your hand. Thanks. Thank you. In the back. God, I do pray. I pray that as much as I hate to say this, for those of us who raised our hand and some people here who didn't, but they know and you know what's going on. I wish I could say we had some magic prayer and it would fix the situation. I'm sure Paul wishes there was some magic prayer and he would have been let out of prison. But that wasn't the secret. The secret to true joy and happiness is simply found in you. Jesus plus nothing. So for all those people who raised their hand, God, I'm going to pray a special prayer. Not that I pray you fix the situation. I pray you improve the situation. I know that's what they want. But more than anything, more important than that situation, God, help them to see. Help them to know if they put their faith and trust in you, that you are with them. You're not only in us, you are with us. You're for us. Give us that reminder today. And God, I pray for somebody here as we close, never put their trust in you, that today would be the day they'd say a simple prayer like this: God, I know I've sinned. I know I've messed up. Jesus, please save me. Please save me. If that's you, First time in your life. Nobody looking around. I'm not going to make you come forward. I'm not going to make a big deal of it. But we want to celebrate because the Bible tells us all of heaven throws a party today in that moment. If that's you, if you would just lift your hand. Let us know. We just want to celebrate. You put it up. Just a moment. Let me see it. Put it right back down if that's you. Awesome. Awesome. God, we're so thankful for what you're doing in this church. We're thankful for the way you're moving. We're thankful for the lives you're being changed. So thankful for Emery as she took that step today, being baptized. Just pray for her. God, we know you're going to use her and that amazing family in such great ways. Help us today, though, as we walk out of here. I pray more than anything this week, God, things may get worse, but we can say, I'm good. I've got it because I know he's with me. We ask this in your name and amen. All right, guys. Hey.